And welcome back to the Weekly Roundup, the place where we unpack what's been going on in the yoga and wellness world and what we've been dealing with our coaching clients and just all the things. Um yeah, Bridget, you want to talk about we are really excited, and I think Bridget brought up a really good point is we have launched rebranded, for those who don't know, we are now called Artha, and we have this like fabulous community that if you're interested in joining, we'll post the details to that in here. But one of the things that all the coaches are launching, each coach will have, we have a group of people that we work with, our clients. We're going to be launching a mastermind. Each coach will have a mastermind group. And Bridget brought up a good point. What the heck is a mastermind? What is it? Why do I want to be part of it? What do I get out of it? What the heck is it? Bridget, take it away. Or Josh.
No, let's have Josh go. Josh, you start.
Oh, I was gonna say, what is it? Masterminds are weird, dude. They're weird. That's why we're starting them because we're kind of weird like that. But I think the thing that has been heavily requested on our side, on the coaching side, forever, and is actually the impetus of how previously the Yogapreneur Collective even started, is that businesses want peer-to-peer interaction. It's why it's fun to go to a conference and meet people, and why, there's all these sayings like all the deals are done at the bar and stuff like that. It's good to interact with other people who understand your business, understand what you've gone through, are working on similar things, et cetera, et cetera. There's infinite value in that. Even just from example, as a tangent, our business summit that we do every year, where we're planning, your next year. One of the comments that we get pretty much every year is someone who's coming to it for the first time. They have a business, they meet another business owner who has objectively the same business, same market size, same product, same style, same whatever, but they're like 5 times larger in revenue and volume of people coming through. And they say something to the effect of like, I just didn't even think about my business being a vehicle that could achieve this result. But objectively, here I am seeing it and talking to this person. And so the value of that peer-to-peer interaction can help you to expand your consciousness around things. And at a specific moment or level in business, you're working generally on a small list of things that have to do with where you're at in your business journey. Revenue is usually one of the primary ways that you can identify that. The problems you're solving if you're doing $1 million a year in sale are not the same as if you're doing $100,000 a year in sales. And so being inside a group of peers that are specific to that revenue level, specific to your type of business, in our case, service businesses that help people improve their lives, that's powerful because you get to sort of brainstorm, sounding board things. What my business might have totally like absolute excellence in will be different than what Bridget's business has excellence in, even though we're at the same level. And so we used to say we need to shake hands. It's like Bridget needs a little bit of what I know, and I need a little bit of what she knows, etc. How do we facilitate that conversation? The weird thing that we've seen in the business world, yoga studios are the worst. Asterisk, Pilates is pretty bad too, actually. I'm realizing now, working with a couple of them. But small business owners in general, especially within a similar niche, are just kind of hardcore about and a little fear oriented, honestly, about sharing and opening and talking amongst each other. If you own a yoga studio, you don't walk down to the street to the other yoga studio and be like, what are you guys doing that's working? Let me see your books and share openly. I did this, it works. You should try it. Like, that's not a thing. If anything, it's the reverse. You change your intro, the studio down the street puts their intro somewhere like yours, and you get pissed off about it. Oh, we did that first, they're copying us. Just, like it's that kind of conversation. And so, although we have this desire, although it's like one of the most valuable things you can possibly do, is have this peer-to-peer cohort level, same level business interaction. We don't create it ourselves as a small business owner. And so this has been one of the most requested features That's why we're starting these masterminds, is to facilitate that slightly more intimate, small cohort at the same level as you in business, where you can just have these conversations. And I would just add, there's a few other reasons and that a mastermind is really powerful, but I would add that there's way more value in you giving, helping, offering experience to somebody else than you first realize. As soon as you do that, you get better at that thing as well. You get clear in your mind. You get more empowered in certain ways, and it just feels good as well. So, a mastermind is a good, lightweight way to have that opportunity. Uh, the point being, some of the masterminds I've been on, one of them for like 8 years, half the time, I don't have anything I need help with. I don't have any questions. Doesn't matter. Still love going on it and offering what I can to someone else. And then another time I do have a question or I need help with something and comes back the other way. So still valuable, even if it's not every time that you're like trying to solve something or need feedback on something from the group.
I think it helps reframe for just, I did a mastermind, um, and it also kind of takes you out of your own shit, right? And you recognize that, oh, we all like to think we all are special and have special problems and this and that. And then when you get into something like that, you realize, well, no, of course, yes, we're all unique and we're all special. We're all wonderful human beings. And at the same time, our shit's not that special for the most part, right? And a lot of people share the same type of problems and issues and challenges. And so when you hear, they're like, oh, in a weird way, it's almost validating that, oh, I'm not in this alone. I'm doing okay. I kind of sort of do know a little bit what I'm doing. So, and like I said, in a weird way, it kind of does help you that way. And just for a great story, because of course I always love stories, I was in a mastermind in 2019, and I joined it right after my mom passed, and I was just having all kinds of issues at my studio. And I recognize now that a lot of it was just because of grief. It's just like, and even if anybody who's gone through such a tragic loss knows that your fuse for bullshit is like nothing. And so I was getting some great um, ideas and advice about how I can handle situations with my staff and this and that. And some very positive things came out of it. And towards the end of it, when again, shit hit the fan proverbially. And it was actually, it was Laura Malcolm, who is one of the founders of WALA, was one of the facilitators of this mastermind. She said, after I did all my things, she said, well, Terry, everybody listening around, she said, well, Terry, I'm going to suggest something completely different. And she said, what? She said, I think you should sell your studio. It was, I don't know if I ever told you that. It was actually Laura. I mean, I'd always planned to sell my studio. The day I bought it was the day I planned to sell it. It's just that I was going to do it till I was about this age I am now. So it was in that mastermind that actually the idea was like, it was like sell your studio. So you never know what you're going to get out of a mastermind, but it was a really valuable experience. Carol, have you ever participated in anything like that?
I haven't. I'm excited to be part of it though, and I've been, doing some research, and I don't know, I'm in facilitating, I'm realizing, something to be very clear about. It's not a coaching call. This is not like for us to be telling you what to do. This is like your peers will be, using their own experience, and not just their thoughts. Like this should be from their perspective, their experience, and should help move everyone to the next level. That's all I know though. But I'm excited to get this started.
Yeah, I would echo Carol what you're saying, that it's actually one of the harder parts about being a coach in the beginning when you're a facilitator of these things. And I've been in and out of, I don't know, a bunch of masterminds throughout the years and different programs and whatever else. And it's one of the key features that makes a mastermind good. There's sort of two major ones and then a few sub ones. One of the key features is that the facilitator is good. Good in that they're not there to talk about something or to tell you something or anything. They're just there to like kind of let you go. The second part is who's in the group. curating who the group is the unique piece that makes it valuable. And so one thing I would say that's awesome, and we haven't formulated to facilitate this as powerfully as we're going to right now, is having the specific cohorts is a key feature to this. And then part two, so you have, peers that are more at like your same level. Part two is that Artha, for a while we've already been doing this, but part of the move to Artha is that we don't just coach yoga studios. We haven't been for a long time. So there's so much value in the wider perspective and conversation of other businesses that are adjacent to yours and similar, and they still have staff and it's still a service, and so they're quote the same in a lot of ways, but also not the same, because the yoga world is the example that is just so obvious that on this call we've all seen, like, it's so incestuous. It has all these little narrative things and quirks and whatever else that just get thrown around like they're just normal. And you go into another business niche and they do not exist. Like there's like not a thing at all. And it's fascinating to get to see that. And so to your point, Carol, I think, when you jump on mastermind, and Terry, you were alluding to this too, and they don't even have to say anything directly to you or vice versa. It's like a demeanor that you get to experience. When someone is speaking about something with extreme enthusiasm, passion, conviction, but that thing is the thing that you either don't have that or disagree with, man, is that valuable. It sounds weird. It's not about it being like an argument. It's about perspective. It's about getting to experience like, holy cow, maybe I should be critical of my own thoughts. Carol's totally convinced that cults are great, and I don't think they are. And so, but why would she think that they're this great? I better consider it. Carol's shaking her head. I think that that's a piece of the puzzle here, as well. So it's not coaching. It's definitely opportunity to come on and just talk through what's going on. There'll be some specific subjects I think we're going to play with the formatting of these to make them as powerful as possible. But yeah, if you haven't joined the new Artha community yet, going back to that, we've moved everything into Slack because let's be honest, Facebook sucks. We actually want to have some level of privacy control, data control, and just like curation ability that is not really possible on some of these other platforms. So it's all in Slack now, and that allows us to have sort of a multi-channeled situation where we have these separate little cohorts that are more private, as well as the larger community and some other features. So if you haven't joined yet, I don't know. Hopefully, Mara, whoever posts this, can put the link around to join, and yeah, get in there. We'll get you in the cohort right away and be on the next mastermind. A couple of them are starting the next couple of weeks here.
Well, we're also doing a lot of workshops in these channels. And I think on the second tier, there's the rep room, which is really, really exciting, I think, for a lot of people. So that's just where you can go and like either you yourself or your team can practice the things that we oftentimes maybe teach them once and then forget about, or it's the follow-up is the hard part. Specifically like thinking in terms of like sales conversations and like the magic line that we usually go with. So you can make sure that you are on top of your reps and training in that way. So I think that's a really cool feature too.
Yes, I launched the inaugural one on Friday, and it was really fun. Bridget was with one of your clients, was on it, and we had a really good time. If you're wondering what do you mean by rep, what do you mean by popcorn, right? It's also think of it as like call and repeat. And when we talk about the magic line is, and this is something that we coach to and train to is when you're in a service-based business, you are selling a service. And you got to train your team to be effective salespeople. Yes. Yes. And salespeople are not, that's not a dirty word. It's actually being in service to someone, and being able to confidently, sell your service to the person standing in front of you or on the phone or even via email, but mostly in front of you. And what the popcorn in the or the rep room, as we're calling it, helps with is we just literally just practice the lines. Like think of we always like say it's we have a script. And I can hear people go, "What? A script? Oh my God, this is blah blah blah." Yes, a script. Because I use this as an example at sales training is, right now, those of you listening, think of your favorite actor or favorite song singer. What did they start with? You get a job. Your agent's got you. Tom Hanks has gotten a job. What does he first get? He gets a script. And what does he do? He has to memorize the script. And in the beginning, it's not pretty. You forget. Also, like you can see, like now with, I remember watching a clip on the Game of Thrones when they did the first read through. And I don't want to have any spoiler alerts in case you haven't watched it. I really liked the last episode. I was fine with it, but I won't share it in case you haven't watched it. Um, anyway, all right, one point is that we practice it over and over and over again so that the words, the reason we memorize it, the reason we do it this way is so that then when your team member is standing in front of someone, they're not fumbling for words of how to say it. And with the popcorn is, hey, Carol, we're so excited you're here. We see you did a drop in today. That is so exciting. Actually, to start, what most people do is our intro special. And for you today, it's only $20 for 3 weeks of yoga. And then Carol pops it to somebody else. You didn't pick up the clue there, Carol, but
Sorry,
that's okay.
I just thought you were delivering a beautiful magic
Yeah.
word.
So then whoever you're working with, you just go back and forth, call and repeat. Carol would go to Bridget. Bridget would go to Josh. Josh would come back to me, and we'd just do it over again until it's like this. Josh.
Yeah, I think the sales is the easiest example, and that'll be probably our most consistent thing that we're facilitating in the rep room. The idea of it is to have a practice channel. And so to Terry's point, there are other areas as well where we'll add some practice in where it's not about coaching, it's not learning something, it's not building something new, it's the actual practice part of it. If we look at, and there'll be some emails and videos and stuff coming out going into some depth on our sort of unique methodology that we've developed over the last, over a decade across the whole team. There's a stage in what we coach to, but just in general in business, which is the practice part. It's the iteration. So you've got to like know what you're building, basically. You've got to actually build it, but then you have to practice it. And this is a little bit aligned with like Shuhari is called out of like how you would train if you were a samurai. It's like you just follow the plan and practice until it becomes your own thing. And then it becomes mastery when you've practiced it so much that you no longer have to think about it and you start to apply other knowledge pieces and yourself to it, where it's like it just has become you, basically. I mean, that's what we're doing in business as well. When you build something in your business, you want it to become the business at some point. But that's the full follow through. The rep room is for practice, where we get to practice these things and just get the reps in there, get the feedback, try this angle, try that angle, whatever, get to hear and see other people do it, normalize that. I would say this is in the top, specifically with sales, for example, Terry, to your point, this is easily in the top three things in the sales category that we see business owners struggle at. They don't facilitate this. If you were a professional sales company, you would do reps with your team every single day. You would do major training monthly or weekly, at least. Most small businesses have never trained at all, and the ones who have, they do reps in the beginning and then never, maybe once a quarter. And so I'm not saying you have to do it every day, but it's just the idea of like, this is something that we have absolute proof of where, man, does this make a difference. Even 4 days. Carol and I were at a studio recently, Terry and I, we go there and in 4 days doing reps with the team, the growth that they experience, the confidence they have, their ability, it skyrockets. Uh, and you want to keep compounding that. So this is a channel specifically to facilitate that. How do you practice something? How do you get some reps in? How do you have a little bit of feedback from a coach? Not learn something new, just actually do it. It's the doing it place.
Or it could be something new if you've never done that before, and we'll help you so that you can then train your team. I just want two comments. Is one, you reminded me, you said about training sales organization back in the day when I was still in corporate sales. My company that I worked for at the time, once a quarter would pull the entire sales force out of the field for 2 days of training and on specific
Yeah.
topics. Like we did one on just basic sales, we did one on financial stuff so that we could have conversations with owners about their business and at least understand what a P&L was, what a balance sheet was. Not that we're financial experts, that we could have intelligent conversations. So, and I mean, that is the level that, sales organizations go through. And then the second thing, when you said about when you were in California, is just by showing how it really does work is I was running that studio's KPIs yesterday. And for those who are not familiar with what KPI stands for, because it's key performance indicator, which are the benchmarks in your business that tell you how you're stacking up against industry standards, is just the difference between we really focused on converting like buddy passes and things like that while we were there. The difference between what they were converting in January, which what they were converting in February, was double, more than double, right? And it was just,
Fire.
yeah. And it wasn't, all that they just felt more confident doing it because we had trained with them. All right. We had trained with them. So that's the value of doing this popcorning, this rep room.
Bridget, I know, has done this a lot in your studio too, Bridget, just like getting the team up to snuff on this. So it's a big focus and an ongoing thing that's happening. I would just I would just add that like if you don't give your team a plan to follow and then you don't practice it so it becomes their habit, like it just becomes the automatic default, then they will just create one. They'll create an automatic default. If you go in and listen to a front desk sales team that hasn't been trained, each individual across multiple days, you'll hear them say the same thing. They're very repetitious. It'll be within a certain margin of variation, but like our brains do this. And so you either give it to them so that it's good and give them confidence so they actually say what you need them to say, or they'll come up with something. It probably won't be good. It probably won't do it. I mean, it might be if they're like trained somewhere else or whatever. So I only make that point that part of the like getting practice in and creating habit is putting that automatic piece in. Where like someone shows up at the desk at a studio, I'm not sure it would be possible for me at this point in my life to not be like, well, what most people do is blah 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 intro pass. Like it just falls out of my mouth because 2.5 decades of saying it, and it works. So yeah, it's just creating that habit part.
And if you're also listening, I just want to say something as well. If you're also listening and think, well, I don't have time to do this, do it every day. We are not talking about an hour a day. We're talking maybe 10, 15 minutes a day, right? It can be a simple thing, particularly with front desk, is if you're looking for something for your front desk to do when class goes into session, this is what you can do, right? So if you're there working with the team, as soon as class goes into session, boom, you spend 10 minutes repping out one thing. Because in fact, studies show that if you spend too much time doing one thing, then there's sort of a drop off in the efficiency of what you're doing. So we're not talking about you have to have like 2 hours, whatever. It's just every day, 10 minutes every day with the team, it will make a huge impact.
Yeah, or what like from once we get to maintenance, once they're trained, once a month, like it doesn't have to be that much. But part of the rep room, the whole concept is to facilitate obviously the space to help you lower that burden. But I think the hidden benefit that owners will experience is one, they themselves have to be able to do this to be able to train people. So they need the reps. And who are they going to run the reps with if they're the source? And so that's a huge piece of this. But there is a nuance in how you train and where you give feedback when you're doing training with your team. So it is a skill to develop as a founder or business owner, or someone on your team, if you're a manager, has to develop this skill because your ability to train people is directly like correlated with your ability to make your business better, period. So one of the hidden benefits of this sort of practice and coming into the rep room too with the coaches is being able to see where someone else is struggling and hear the feedback that they're given and see like what happens when if it gets unpacked, like why is this hard for them or whatever else. And also for yourself, it's like the expansive perspective of where to focus on and new ideas, et cetera, et cetera. Similar to these masterminds that we're talking about too, like just expanding your consciousness around what it is that's taking place, because then you can take that to your business for your own training stuff as well. So there's the sort of secondary layer of being better as a trainer. Just to reiterate the point, and let's move on to something else. The rep room slash practice room, like it won't just be sales. There'll be other things that'll be in here too. It'll keep expanding over time. But it's anything that just requires repetitious, like we're just going to do the thing, kind of co-work style. Maybe body doubling will be part of the features that are in there, etc. So if you're in Artha, keep an eye out for the rep room, and weekly there'll be some reps going on for sales right now, and then some other ones coming. The other thing that Carol, you mentioned are the workshops. And so we've done workshops. I don't know. I don't even know how many. Maybe I'm overestimating, but I think I've done fucking 10,000 workshops in my day, like a million work. I don't know. Infinity. Too many. That's probably not true. Maybe not a million, but like a lot. And so it's been really kind of cool to get to go through the experience as a coach of when you're building a workshop or a training or whatever else, what is it that's necessary? How do you make that good? Not just from a presentation standpoint, but like what actually helps make a difference? And then also with our coaching clients, when we're doing one-on-one coaching, there are some sort of hyper specific skills or hyper specific training pieces that we don't always have an opportunity to get to that are very valuable that someone should develop. But when you're doing your one-on-one coaching, there's like a custom plan and path that you're on, so we might not detour to do those things at depth because they're not the highest impact thing relative to what you're coaching on. So the workshops that we've launched that are happening, so for example, yesterday I did one on how you formulate your first offer, like your intro sort of offer. We did the education piece of it. It's a new space for us to create opportunity, and we've reiterated this in what we understand to be the most powerful delivery method for how do you continue to learn more about what to do in your business, have that sort of deeper understanding of things. But the reason we use the word workshop versus like webinar is there's also the actual do it part that we need to have in here as well. And so the general formulation of how these are delivered is there's an education step, which is like understand the core principle underneath this. If you do any research on education, what you learn is, without being so terrible throwing school systems under the bus, although sure, let's do it. Memorization in academia in the standard sense is just bullshit. Like it just doesn't actually work from a true learning sense. There are other things that have to happen. If we really want to learn something, it's understanding the underlying core principle of what it is that's happening that's actually valuable. Simple example for thoroughness. My daughter, who's 5, in her little jungle school here, which is just like the friggin' cutest place ever, they're learning addition right now. And they're learning how you count on your fingers, but now they're expanding beyond fingers. So now they have to use objects. Like for her, like she's totally got it. I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this math. I can't even do whatever 15 plus 17. I don't know what that is. But counting rocks or counting apples, it's like tangibly seeing and understanding the core thing. When we say this plus this, what we mean is there's this many of this thing, and there's the addition of this many more of this thing, and that equals this many of that thing. That's very simple, but that is through every piece of education on anything. So, long-winded way of saying these workshops have deeper core principle education, understand why, what the hell are we talking about, how you would approach it. Step two is let's do it. So, as much as possible, we'll show you this is exactly what you should do. Click here, do this, write this down. I would handle it like this, whatever. And then there's the discussion, question and answer, troubleshooting step at the end. They'll be as specific as possible. So, an example, just because yesterday we started first offer, we're not talking about all of the pricing in your business. We're just talking about this one thing, your first offer. Like, let's just nail that. And then we'll get through all of the pricing and all the other things as well. But that's sort of the purpose of that. So, if you're not in the group, or if you are and you just haven't attended one of the workshops yet, heads up for that. A big reason for this is just, I think if you keep obsessing about your business in terms of like, I'm going to keep learning and enhancing my skills and paying attention, like you just naturally you're going to get better at it. I know that sounds weird, but a lot of business owners, they do that before they open, they get up and going, everything's running. And then if you talk to them at year 3 to 5, and then you talk to them at year 10, nothing has changed. They don't know anything new. They have no more capabilities. They haven't expanded their thought on it. There's no critical thinking or discernment applied to it. And I'm not casting shade. I'm just saying that's a precarious place to be in because expanding yourself is whatever. I think just generally good, but also the market and your business and things change. And so you're less equipped than when that happens. Go ahead, Bridget.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say something along the same lines and something that I thought about many times while listening to everybody talk about the community. Sorry, there's construction going on behind me, as usual. I always think about that quote that's like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so many of us are small business owners, just like alone on an island, and nobody in your life knows what it's like. Nobody has, I mean, you know, everybody listening, don't tell any non-small business owners and entrepreneurs I said this, but we are a particularly ambitious group, a particularly, I think, smart, innovative group of people. And a lot of times you are surrounded by people who don't really understand you and what the hell you're trying to do. And even in like a mastermind with people who are on a similar, like, income or whatever, like sort of doing at a similar place in their business, they are still like awesome, incredible, like smart, innovative people who, particularly if you are in our community, are not only small business owners, but they're small business owners who are driven for more and better and trying to do better. And that's the type of business owners I want to be around. So, yes, it's great to be around business owners in general, but it's way better to be around business owners who are driven towards growth. And that's what you get from being in our community, whether you're in the masterminds, you're doing the workshops, you're just in there typing away your questions. That is where I have gotten the most growth as for myself as a business owner, is in spaces like that.
I think this is such an important point, Bridget. Thank you for bringing it up. Like, not just to toot our horn, but also this is what's happening inside your business as well. If you ask 50 studio owners of Pilates or yoga or whatever, they're all going to say, like, what's great about your business? They're all going to say community. Like, that's absolutely going to be in there. And they're not wrong. That is great about the business. A community does form. It's a result of something, as we talk about. But why is that valuable to people? And it's this sort of subconscious energetic support, this corroboration of belief that like, oh, I should do yoga and be introspective and take care of myself and be happy to sweat today or work out or do my Pilates practice or whatever. I get to see other people doing that too. And like there's this energy of upliftingness around that. If you live in a household where three other people just sit on the couch and eat potato chips and say, "No, I don't want to go to the gym with you." It's real easy to sit on the couch and eat potato chips. Then if you're in a community of people at the gym that are like, you know what's great about the gym? Fucking going to the gym and not sitting and eating potato chips. Like dumb example, but like that powers you up. We're tribal, we're communal that way. I think there's so much value in finding, I hate this word, but I'm going to say it in this one specific instance, like-minded people, finding your group because of this empowerment that comes with it.
Yeah. And I point to when you said community, because we always do laugh about that, because never has any yoga studio or business owner ever said we have shitty people and we have the worst community, right? Nobody ever says
Worst
that.
community. Mark, we would be
Our
good, but our
community is
community
absolutely the
sucks.
worst. You shouldn't even come here. Our teachers don't know what the hell they're doing. Our employees, no.
They don't even say, our
Eh,
community's okay. It's a
they're
little
all,
weak. It could be better. Zero times. Like
zero. Never have
best
I
community
ever.
ever. Yeah.
So what struck me, Josh, when you said that about community, because one of the things, and to your point, Bridget, as well, is that when you are an entrepreneur, it's like your community is there for the people. It's not really there for you. You are in the community, but you're outside the community because we talk about your employees, your staff are not your friends. Your clients are not your friends. And I say that in a way that there's that personal versus professional boundary. It's not that, I hope everybody understands that. And it can be challenging. The only exception to that, and in fact, no, I'm trying to stay one point. Okay, so the one, I'm just going to say this. Josh sent me some feedback at the end of the year about when we were on these shows and stuff. And one of it gently said, basically, was say, Terry, fucking stick to one point at a time. So I've really been trying to take that to heart. Anyway, is that the thing about the mastermind and the Artha community is that is your community. That's the community where you can be you. You can be your authentic self, your self, as opposed to biz owner self. Because when you're your biz owner self, your professional self, you really can't complain and have fear and doubt and uncertainty because you're the leader of that community. Therefore, you want to project that confidence, like a father or a mother in a family. If something's going on, you don't want the kids to know for the most part, right? You want them to feel safe and secure. That's no different than your community in your studio. So therefore, our community is your community because that's where you can like let it go. That's where you can cry. That's where you can laugh. That's where you can get all like, OMG, I can't believe, what do I do about this? So I just wanted that's where and for me, when I was in the mastermind, and one of the reasons I was deeply involved with Mind Body One, the community with Mind Body One back in the day, is because of that. So Josh.
I would just add to this that like, yes, 100%. You, the two things that took me quite a while to understand as an entrepreneur in my first like I would say more serious businesses. I had a couple of small businesses when I was in high school and stuff, but they were high school level janky. And so later on, my cleaning company was the first one that I really fully experienced this and in hindsight see it. It's realizing that one, you are not the avatar that your business is serving. You are the aspirational identity that they are going to become, or at least in part. And so you're not looking for more of you with your clients and your staff. You're looking for you 10 years ago. That's why you're going to be able to help them. Part two, you are not in a peer group when you own the business. Or if you're a serious, like actual full level manager, you are not in a peer group anymore. I'll say this as harshly as I can to be as clear as possible. If you own the yoga studio, the Pilates studio, whatever, the weight of opinion of one of your staff is not the same as yours, period. They are not your peer. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take their feedback. It doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to them. It doesn't mean they won't have a good idea. It doesn't mean they don't know anything. None of that. It's just that's not your peer group. And understanding this and sort of owning it is really empowering as an entrepreneur because you realize it's not that I'm better, it's just the facts of this equation that are happening. And so it changes how you view a lot of things, where you put weight, where you don't. It changes your expectations. I'm not going to expect my front desk team to be as good as I am at a certain insert blank thing or to have the initiative to just see this and do that. Of course not. They don't fucking own the place. Of course they're not going to see it the same way I do. So when you realize that like you are in a different role in that context, it can actually be really powerful. And that also means and lonely at the top. It's really easy to find yourself there. And in fact, I would almost say it's a guarantee that at least at some point you will find yourself there as an entrepreneur. You're going to be like, what the fuck? And that's okay. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It just means in those moments you realize, man, there's a lot of value if I do have a peer group that I can go to. Hence why we have our community. Hence why people come to your business. One thing that came up in these last trips too was the conversation that someone comes into the yoga studio. They're this one gentleman, they were saying like he's like 79 years old, always talks the ear off of the front desk. But it kind of came out through the grapevine that we're like, dude lives by himself. He's retired, doesn't have any family around. Like, you are his whole interaction with other human beings today on Tuesday. That's a beautiful thing. And it's just your like he's coming into the studio because this is his peer group of this common thread of like let's take care of ourselves and be healthy and yoga and whatever whatever. That's part of why they're coming. We call that community, but that's a peer group. So anyways, as a business owner, I think it's important to have your peers around you as well where you can be truthfully yourself to break the stay on one point thing, Terry, so you can we should afterwards. If we think about this from the context of relationships between people and what constitutes like quality of a relationship, I would make the debate that within this specific context of the relationship, it's the felt, like what makes it good is the felt experience that you are safe with each other. I know that I can be entrepreneur Josh with or Coach Josh with Carol and Terry because that's our relationship. Like, and I'm safe being that me in that context. That's the same thing. You're in your peer group as an entrepreneur running a small business with a bunch of other small business owners. It's that felt experience that, like, oh, wait, these are my people and I don't have to filter through like, well, I don't want them to take it the wrong way or be upset. Or if I share my financial situations, they might judge me and think I'm paying myself too much when they're getting paid too little at my studio or whatever. Like all that stuff, get that shit out of the way. You want the freedom of that safety to be able to be honest with yourself, to have the deeper, proper conversations. That's the value of community with your peers.
Totally.
Totally. How do you how do you amplify this sort of thing inside your small business? I feel like that's something that like everyone knows they have community. This just organically happens. But is there like practical action that you can take that you could add to your business that would kind of lean into this a bit more?
Lean into the like community part of it.
Yeah, the
Like,
community
like
part, the like, if you're the centralizing force that creates the community and has peers that can interact with each other and that's valuable, how do you just lean right into that?
we, I have two thoughts. One is we do a monthly women's circle, actually. And that has been so, I really feel a difference in like how cohesive our community feels. We implemented about 2 years ago and we do them. We're very reliable to them. They happen every month. I feel my teachers getting better from their facilitation of them. Um, and so that comes to mind. But also, what comes to mind, especially about the part about you sort of being the centralizing force, it's been something that has been a little tricky for me as I've navigated being fully remote. It's been like 15 months now since I've been fully remote. And I was just on retreat and we just came back. And it is so one is that I do think those things, even though they don't need to be the way you make your money, they don't need to be like crucial parts of your business, but bigger things like retreats and teacher trainings can really create this experience in your studio. And it just sort of makes you the Sorry, there's someone just came to the door and they're being so loud in my ear and it's really distracting me. Um, and so my thoughts are getting all mixed up. So maybe I'll just say that is like those bigger things can help create. I think one time I heard one of you say about sort of the like levels of how deep someone is into the community, or I'm saying this, but saying I'm doing this upward movement with my hands, but saying deep. And those people do become sort like there are ways I've been thinking about this a lot over the last 2 years of like how to create like even more buy-in from the community. So anyway, there's like a lot of things, but someone
Now
feel free
you
to jump in.
You got it. I'll just echo what you're saying that, yeah, there's creating the opportunity for depth of relationship between your members and with your business, which is also has the secondary benefit of like you get to run a retreat and make money from that and go somewhere dope, like Sheena like you were at recently. So absolutely. I was thinking the women's circle came up for me. We used to do a thing at my last studio, my last yoga studio, that we called Yoga Talks. And it was the local coffee shop that had the best coffee in town, and they were new and like kind of hip and trying to build their business up. So we did this collab thing where like for a couple of years, every like, I don't know what it was, Wednesday night or something at 7 p.m. when the coffee shop would normally have been closed, they opened up for us to come in there. And then we just talked about a random yoga philosophical concept and what was the ideas around that, and everyone bought coffee. They were happy and in that business. It became a thing that people that didn't even come to our studio would come to. And it then was also the opportunity to have this discussion about the stuff that otherwise wasn't fitting in the studio. I'm not going to teach the class and be preaching about some yoga philosophical blah, 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 and having any real depth of discussion or anything like that. So it became an opportunity for that. And did that super grow the business directly? No, but like in depth of community and everything, yes. And then the context of it also was that people opted into that conversation. If someone goes to the women's circle, They're choosing to go to that conversation and be in that context. If you came to the yoga talk, you were choosing to come to have that conversation. If you didn't want to have that conversation, it wasn't forced on you then. And I think that was a really unique feature that hit well, because I was always surprised who was super interested, like would come out of the woodwork and show up to that thing. Example, this one woman comes to mind. My first interaction with her was she yelled in my face, telling me that yoga was blasphemous and against God because we were doing postures praying to false deities. Somehow she ended up coming in and practicing, loved it, understood that's not what we were about specifically. But I thought there is no fucking way she will ever come to one of these yoga talks, because we're directly talking about things that are also reflected in Hinduism and other Jainism and all these other religions as well. She came to every single one and was engaged and fascinated. And talking to her later, was just expanding her thought, like her words, not mine. This actually anchored and supported and expanded her existing belief, didn't take anything away. Anyways, the point being, yeah, creating some opportunity for depth through these other things. I think that's a pretty easy mechanism. And also, how do you participate in your local community? I think a lot of businesses think about that like going to community events or donating somewhere or doing all these like external facing things. Like, oh, we're going to support the local whatever, whatever. Sure. But also, like, the context of your business is, what do you do? So support your community in that way. That's who you actually are as a business. That's what you do. I would have it focused there.
Yeah, these are all great ideas. I'm thinking also in terms of your employees. Like, can you create some kind of community for them? I know I worked with a business owner that in their Slack channel, instead of just always having like, well, we're going to do quarterly meetings, which, gets most people together, but also like she encouraged them also to have like a coffee, like let's do a coffee date and put that in Slack and invite all the other employees or whoever can make it. At my studio, the home studio right now, there's a handful of us that go for sushi every couple months, and everyone's invited. It's just like we're doing our sushi date. So like just that also, I think and nature of a lot of our businesses is that we are very disconnected. We don't see all the same people all the time, or we do see the same people all the time, but we don't see everyone. Other staff members that we might know and love that we've been working with for a long time, and so just trying to figure out ways to create community for them, I think is really cool too.
That's a great one. We used to, it reminded me, Carol, I had a couple of thoughts on this, is in the Bikram series, in the Ghosh lineage, there's what's called the advanced practice, which is 84 asanas. And we used to get together every Thursday and we practice. Initially, it was just with teachers, but then we expanded it beyond teachers and it kind of took on a life of its own. But in the beginning, it was all the teachers would get together, practice, and then we go for lunch afterwards. And that really, like, people would change their teaching, they would have their schedule set so that they could do that. For me, it was easy. It was Thursdays. Forever and a day I taught 6:30, 9:30 at the studio. So then I would just stay and then we go to lunch and then I'd be done for the day. And again, that really created a bond, not just with the teachers that taught at that studio, but because all other teachers, other Bikram teachers from the area would come. So we had an external network of not just the teachers in our space. The other thing that, and just in terms of what made me think was, again, this is Bikram, is we used to always do posture of the month. Remember posture of the month? You guys do posture of the month, right? Where you can create around a specific posture, because as you know, Bikram yoga
It's
is
not
trying
just
to
Bikram.
posture.
That's all boutique fitness wellness. We've
Yeah,
seen it. Yeah.
yeah. So
That's
it's
one of
like,
the number one top performing post types to this day, by the way. When we look at engagement by percentage in organic social media, that's still in the top three.
yeah, and then we went from, so we did so well with posture of the month. When we added IHP, we did mom move of the month. right? So we did something like, so that was really, that created a lot. And also talking about, I think this could be a segue to what you're going to talk about is social media, right? It created some good content for that. And then the other thing that really, really created a huge thing was, again, in the Ghosh lineage, there's USA Yoga, and love it or hate it, don't like it, whatever, is the yoga competition. And my studio became huge in that. And we had a group, we fielded a field of athletes every year, like 15 to 20 people, and we practiced together. We had a whole program around it. And not only the people who are practicing got into it, but the whole studio, because we practice our routines and things like that. So those are some things that popped in my head about creating not only teacher community, but student community. Carol, you had your hand up. Oh, it was great. Okay. It was okay. Well, so I mentioned social media. So that was something we were talking about before. Carol, you were mentioning something about that.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, changing lanes here a little bit. I was experiencing this week a conversation with a client, and this person's never run ads for their business. So we were starting to talk about how we could do that. And a lot of our suggestions have to do with video. And there was a lot of apprehension just because, for a few reasons. One, the studio owner was very like apprehensive about filming any of their classes. And so that's one hurdle. And how do we go about doing that? Also, being in front of the camera, I think for a lot of people is just very, very scary. And then, the perfectionism of it all. Like, how do we get past that? So, one of the things that kind of came up during the discussion is what I think we see this a lot is that we kind of default to what we're comfortable with, what we're really good at. And so we'll keep going down that path and maybe reiterate on something that we've already done a few times, but that's my wheelhouse and I feel good about it, instead of focusing on the thing that makes me a little scared. And, this is again where maybe a bit of this community aspect would be really helpful for having experience, from other people and suggestions on how to get over that kind of thing. And I think part of it's too is like we need to be okay with being shitty on the first time you do something, and it's okay. Like, you're going to get better the more you practice it. So those are my first few thoughts. And I know that I'd been speaking to Bridget on some of these, like, how do we get, like, maybe through some of this apprehension, and what could we do to maybe baby steps to your first ad? What could we do? If you have any ideas, let it know.
Well, one thought I made a note while you were talking is, and I mentioned this when we were before, I have a friend who owns a studio in Florida, and her hard and fast rule is there is no photography at her studio inside unless it's a special thing. So here, if that is, you want to, and obviously privacy is a huge topic, is, and I did this when I did a photo shoot, is have a special class and just say, this is a class, we're going to be filming it, we're going to be using it. If you're interested in attending, it's a free class, whatever, depending on their package you had. And they got everybody to sign a media release. So people coming to that class knew that this class was specifically to use for media, for ads, for marketing, things like that. And the owner was protected because they had a media release. So that's one simple thing you can do. You can also, the same thing with photos, just say, hey, we're doing a photo shoot or we're doing this. And if you want to be part of that, and then you can get pictures for socials and ads and things like that as well. So that's one super easy solve if you don't want to film during class. And I think more and more, as you said, is whenever I would take films in class, I was never anybody's faces, right? Never anybody's. I was really careful about that. However, this is one way you can do that. It's practical, Bridget.
Yeah, just on that point and a little bit more practical stuff around that is if you do a photo shoot like this, if you are a studio, I am not a studio that doesn't take photos. We take photos and videos of class. Like Terry says, we have rules around it. We like, I do sometimes take pictures of people's face, but then if I post it, I will always I send it to them and I say, hey, they loved this photo of you. Is it okay if I, post this or whatever? So anyway, I am not in this camp, but if you are in the camp that many people are, where you do not allow photos, videos at all in your space, then yes, Terry's answer is the thing to do. A couple things I would add are if you have multiple modalities, schedule all of those classes that day or that weekend or a couple weekends in a row or whatever. You want a variety. The problem with just the photo shoot once a year is like, then you're just using the same shit every day and it can get really tiresome. And just look really repetitive, in your content and stuff. Not the end of the world. Done is better than perfect, as we say. So schedule all your modalities so you have enough of that. We had a huge problem where we never got good photos of our like dark candlelit classes because it's really hard on like an iPhone. And finally I was like, why am I doing this? I just called our photographer and was like, can you just come by and she is a trade, so she just gets her free membership. And I was like, can you just come by at this candlelit class for 30 minutes, take some classes? I put it on the schedule. I said, hey, this class is going to have a photographer. Nobody gives a fuck in my community, at least. I know that some people do, and that's totally fine. So yeah, those are just a couple practical points, and I have other thoughts, but I'll let other people.
I think what comes up for me in all of this, and Carol, you made this point in part already, but like what I would really directly say is you have to just own it. Like whatever it is that you're going to do in your business, don't halfway anything. Just decide we either fucking do this or we don't. And so, Terry, your client that's like, we do not take photos in the studio. We do not film things. That is not how we roll. Okay. I like great because they're owning it. This is a deliberate decision. It is a clear line. There's no way you get there without having a specific reason. And the sacrifice is, well, we're not going to have a bunch of media from existing classes on the regular for social media. So now figure out what are you going to post and how are you going to do it? Like, how do you create that? That's a different problem to solve that you've created for yourself. That's not negative, but it's a choice that you're making. Or be like, fuck it, we're the place that does this. And, it doesn't have to be extreme. There can be some guidelines of professionalism, of course, whatever, as you're saying, Bridget. But it's just the idea that, like, I feel like a lot of small business owners get stuck in the one foot and two boats situation where they're like, well, if some people don't like it, and when Carol teaches, she thinks that it's a good idea to film herself and then whatever, but Bridget doesn't like this, and Terry told me once that someone gave her the stink eye, so we kind of do it sometimes, but then we warn them, but then not really. Like, just what? It's such a waste of energy, just decide. Own who you are, own what your business does, be clear about it, set the expectation. And we always talk about like you pull this lever here and this one moves over there. So then you pull that one here and this one goes over here. And like there's a little bit of a trade in anything you're doing. If anyone tries to say that there's one right way or wrong way to do something, they're nuts. That's not how life works. Definitely not in business. So it's just understanding I'm going to do this, I'm going to own it, and there's going to be a cost to that. That means someone is going to come to me and say, I don't like that you film in classes. I'm not going to come here. Yep.
The more
Okay.
you start thinking of things as morally neutral and thinking less about things being good and bad and whatever, your life as a business owner and just in general, I think, is just going to get way
Preach.
better, way better. It is not like really when you get stuck in these things, which this is such a big one for people getting really like preachy about it and really like this is the right thing to do and like blah blah blah. I actually got a message during our open house this year, when I was in town, and someone said something like, do you always take videos of this? I would feel really uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, this probably is not the space for you. And we ended up having a great ending to that conversation. And she was like, yes, I am definitely looking for a place that never, ever takes photos and videos. And I was like, I am so excited for you to find that place. Like, that's so great, whatever. But when you start to get in these little mind traps is really like just pull yourself back a little bit and be like, could I see this as the morally neutral thing that it is? Because photos and videos in this context, it's morally neutral. It is. It just is. And you can decide whatever one works best for you.
Yeah,
Well,
and I was gonna say great call out because again, going back to my friend in Florida, well, she doesn't do it in her studio. Her social media for her business is amazing. And she has a shit ton of followers because she knows how to do it. And that's where she leans into it, is in her social media for the studio. And she'll do videos and stuff at the studio when she's alone. But so that's her again, that's her choice. And I think it comes down to knowing what you stand for as a business and where you draw that line. And if it, like you said, if it's something you're doing all the time and it's part of who you are, part of your brand, part of your identity, then if you do something that supports that, whether it's morally neutral or not, it's who you are, as opposed to all of a sudden you decide to get on a particular bandwagon because everybody else is getting on that particular bandwagon. And we all know of instances of that. The other practical thing I was going to say too, Terry's going to steal. Are you going to steal it? No, I'm not going to steal it, Josh. You can have that one. Is again, another practical tip to Bridget's point and Carol's point is when you are going to do a photo shoot or have someone, videographer, whoever come in, make a list of what you want. Have a shot list. So if you want to do some B-roll, and what B-roll is it's not for anything specific. You see it at the beginning of movies and shows all the time. Like I'm watching uh, and Grey's Anatomy, and every episode opens up with B-roll of the Seattle skyline, right? So if you have the shot list ahead of time, you can actually give it to whoever's going to be taking the pictures or the video, and then they have an idea. So you're not wasting time. So you're very specific about what you want. I want this kind of shot. I want this kind of shot. I want this, whatever. Josh.
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, there was this photo shoot at the hot box here that Jenna manages, the studio in town here that she's running recently. And when she was going to it, it was a local photographer who we know and whatever. And so it was like pretty casual. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to like overstep my boundary here, but like, do you have a shot list that you guys are following? And they didn't. So we put one together because when we talked to the photographer, it's funny and it's not throwing them under the bus, but like their photos and videos were beautiful. Their shot list was terrible. They were going to get a bunch of really cool looking stuff that was going to be completely irrelevant for the business, like not usable actually, and almost debranded. Is the truth. Um, to no fault of their own. So just having a shot list is smart. Two things that I would comment on here, or that I would say, like first off, why is it valuable to create ongoing photo, video, media, whatever in your business? Why, like yourself being on camera and sort of in the side comment I'd say on that is just like, if you don't like that, find another path. And also Carol's points before, like you'll get better at it, accept that you might suck in the beginning, and also just like fucking get over it. You, you own the business. You don't get to complain that no one comes in if you don't post anything anywhere for people to find you because you're too scared to put yourself out there and you're unwilling to find another path for how to do that. Get over it, figure out how to do it. I don't mean to be harsh, but just there's that part. But why is it important for your clients or your potential clients? The thing that is valuable for them is getting to see themselves in your business before they're in your business. That's what's valuable. The grunt test that we talk about when we look at like a website audit or whatever. What is it? Why do I want it? How do I buy it? Or what's the first step or next step that I should take? Part of it is I want to envision myself doing the thing. The foggier that is, the less I'm able to see myself doing the thing that you're selling, the higher friction there will be for me to come in, the more fear there will be. And it is fear, it's fear of the unknown. If I have no idea what we're going to do in your hot Pilates class, and everyone's just been telling me that it's hot and it's hard, and there's all these people who are fit in spandex or whatever else. And I'm going to start forming a vision. And then I'm like, I don't know if I can handle the heat. I don't know if I can hold plank for a minute. I haven't done a sit up in a year. I'm not sure I have matching spandex suit to wear. Like, these all become reasons for me to not go and do it because I feel uncomfortable, and we all calibrate towards comfort. So somehow showing what it's like and what you're going to do, not so directly, can be B-roll indirectly, is powerful because it lets people see it and sort of understand it in a new way. We're like, oh, it's gonna be like this, and we're gonna like, oh, it's low dim lit or whatever else. Like those are valuable pieces that you can say them, but it's not the same as showing. In marketing, we very often talk about the idea that you should show, not tell. It's way better to show someone something than to just tell them something in terms of power. Um, the other thing I would say here, just to sort of double down on the point and to brag a little bit about Jenna and her managing this studio in town, is which like I have not been part of, which has been great and hard because she'll be like, this happened at the studio. And I have to not go into coaching mode and be like, you should fix it like this. Tell that bitch to shut the fuck up. Because also, of course, I would be a terrible coach for Jenna because I'm protective of her. And so she experiences something and I get angry about it. That's not a good place to coach from. I digress. The point is, she doesn't have personal social media. Our Nomad Yoga family social media from the past, it hasn't been on for like 10 years. She hasn't been posting anything. She doesn't look at social media, nothing. But she's fully embraced the fact that like this is a new business. This is a heavily social media driven town for how you find things, etc. Like that is the path. Everything's done through WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, Instagram photos, whatever. And so she's basically, and also they had a social media person, but they were too expensive. Like it's a really small town, small studio, like limited budget, whatever. Long story short, she posts every day. She's like, I found this app called CapCut where you can edit things. And I'm like, oh my God, like, please tell me you didn't buy another CapCut Pro subscription that I already have in my office right now. And what's been fascinating, and then so also other people are posting, and they set up a little mini tripod right by where the teacher stands in the class. So she's got the teachers grabbing clips of themselves in their fitness classes or whatever as well. It's not the only thing, but like they've gone from no one knows they exist to right now, every morning class is 80, 90% full, if not 100% sold out every single day. People are talking about it. Like, I don't know. How else does that happen? I mean, obviously there's the practical on the ground sales stuff, quality of classes, blah, blah, blah. But like, how do you find out about it? How do you amplify word of mouth? How do you make that happen? One of the tangible changes is going from like once a week posting a photo that maybe looked nice but doesn't do anything to like kind of every friggin' day, multiple stories and multiple posts right in the channels in the local market. And now people know about it and are coming in or talking about it. There's a conversation. So no paid advertising either. It works. The create content, be comfortable on camera thing, and the getting content in the business. I think getting content in the business, yes. Terry, you made the comment in our chat here that like raw, authentic content hits right now. It's always been valuable. It really hits right now. People don't want the super polished. Authenticity is magnetic. One of the hidden benefits from the owner perspective, going all the way back to Carol, what you were saying of like putting yourself on camera and saying something. This is the new version of kind of like public speaking. The ability to speak powerfully about what you do and describe it accurately and to do that in an authentic way is like a fucking superpower as an owner in a business and very magnetic. But where's the testing ground where you get to do that? That might not be your natural place. That might not be something you're naturally comfortable with. So I think a weird benefit of this is like Yeah, you might suck in the beginning, but that's how you get better. It's the place that you get to practice. It's the place that you get to figure out, like, not just how do I do this or how do I say it or whatever technically, or how do I get my point across. It helps you streamline, consolidate, clarify your own thoughts, your own messaging, and then also see, like, what does the market, what do your clients, what do your staff actually react to? There's a there's a lot of value in that, a lot more than I think you first realize until you start doing it.
I was just gonna say the other most magnetic thing is doing something that you're really scared to do and like putting it out there really publicly. It is one of my like religious beliefs that this is the most magnetic thing you can do, and abundance will be on the other side of doing something that you're really scared to, especially in a really public way. And so I just think that there's just so much there. The other thing that I have to tell my brain when I'm starting something, I absolutely fucking hate not being good at something. And I really, and now I've actually come to kind of love the beginning process, and but like barely, like not that much. But I Yes, Terry. That does mean you should get married again. Um,
For those of you who are just listening to this, Terry just asked the question in our chat. Does that mean I should get married again?
I think really good. I lost my train of thought, but oh, yes. What I have to t trick my brain into, this is how I do it, is remind myself that if I do it a lot, I will definitely be good at it eventually. And then I remember all the times that I was really not good at something, and then I just did it over and over again, and then I became really good at something. And that tricks my brain into being able to take that first step, because then I'm like, oh my God, I'm only like, 30 posts away from being like pretty decent at this or whatever it is. And so I better start now. Josh.
I love this. I have something to add to it. One of the things that we say in the on the coaching team is, like, the difference between being like just the small business owner who's kind of purchased herself a job sort of thing, the passionpreneur, let's say, and the entrepreneur, the devoted entrepreneur is our like premium archetype. They're like what I think we're actually all trying to become, is what we would call it. The difference is the small business owner loves what they do. The devoted entrepreneur learns to love what it takes to accomplish the outcome. It's the game itself. It's the process itself. It's the process of becoming. That's the part that you fall in love with. That's the psychological transition that some people have to go through. Some people just naturally are like that. Some people really aren't, and it's not good or bad. It's just a thing. But in entrepreneurship, it's a path that I see that you just, as soon as you change, Bridget, to your point, your perspective to be like, this is a process, and I'm going to fall in love with going through the process of doing it, not am I good at this or not, then everything feels way different in your business. You get hungry about things again because there's infinite areas of development. There are not infinite areas of expertise that you just naturally have right away. Um, I saw a really cool thing, and this sort of just like doubles down on what you just said, Bridget, maybe to end us off for today, Terry. Um, what if you had the ability to see the future or whatever, and what if you knew for sure that you were 30 video posts away from hitting your target revenue? Or what if you knew You're only 18 months away from your business quadrupling and you having more freedom than ever. Or like, what if you knew that if you just for 1 year posted a written post on Facebook that's just a rambling of your thoughts, voice to text, and just post and don't even think about it, that would double your business? What if you knew for sure that was true? Or what if you knew you're the 50th post? For some reason, you have to do 50 posts. The 50th one is going to go hyper viral and get 10 million views. If you knew that, like, how fast would you make those posts? If you're 30 away, I'd make 30 of them fucking today. Like, suddenly you figure it out. So I have like the idea that like the friction is in our mind around these things. The path is really where you find the enjoyment if you get it right. If you wanted to get the result you want, it's some number in front of you. Get there.
I think that's a wrap. All right, that's a wrap for this week's Weekly Roundup. Tune in every Friday wherever you subscribe, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, any of those things that are out there, to listen to us ramble on and on. We'll see you all next week. Have a beautiful rest of the week. And Outlander fans, Outlander final season starts tomorrow. I'm so excited. So if you're also an Outlander fan, you're let's
Huge.
just hope they do not kill Jamie. Sorry, I had to put that in.
Let's hope. I don't.
Okay. All that aside, check us out. I'll have Mara drop in the stuff for the Artha community and all the things we talked about at the top. And you too can be part of this crazy, wacky world that we live in. So we'll see y'all next week. Take care. Bye.